Okay, here's a quick video summary of what we learned today. So first, we learned about distributing a monomial to a trinomial. So it's just basic multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and work, let's say the example, or problem number 7, which you don't have to do in the book, just using it as an example. Actually, let me go ahead and do one of the odd ones that you're going to have the answer to in the back of the book, but let me have it worked out for you. So let's say, let's do number 11. So that is a negative. So 11 is a negative 3 g to the 7th times g to the 4th minus 6g squared plus 5. So we're going to distribute this towards each one of those terms, and the thing we need to be mindful of is that negative right there. Negatives and fractions will get you. So a negative 3 times a 1, that's going to give me a negative 3. G to the 7th times g to the 4th gives me g to the 11th. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 6, 18. G to the 7th times g to the 2nd, that would be g to the 9th. Negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 5, 15. There's g to the 7th times no g's, that's g to the 7th. So that would be the answer. Double check that in the back of the book to make sure that's correct. One way to think about multiplying the negative on the outside is that it flips all the signs on the inside. So if you have a positive here, it's negative, negative to positive, positive to negative. That is one way to view it. You can just very methodically, like I did, multiply the monomial times each of the terms inside the trinomial. So that is multiplication. Then we're looking at the greatest common factor. So this is example 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at 17. Looking for the greatest common factor of 5. So this is number 17. 5b cubed plus 15b minus 30. So one of the strategies we talked about in class was go ahead and look at your variables. Look for the lowest degree of variable, which is right here. We have none. So we cannot factor out a b. We look at our smallest coefficient, it's 5. Could we factor out a 5 out of all of this? Yes, we can. So our greatest common factor is going to be 5. Different way we can look at that. We could just rewrite the terms, 5b cubed, factoring this. I guess we could say equals, yep, is 5 times b times b times b. We have here 15b is equal to 3 times 5 times b. And then finally we have negative 30. Negative 30 equals negative 1 times 2 times 5 times 3. And if we are looking at common factors, we might look up here and say, okay, do we have a 5 in all of them? Yep, we sure do, so we would circle that. Do we have a b in all of them? At least one, yes, and then no. And that's all we can take out of that first term. So our greatest common factor is and only 5. G, C, F is 5. All right, that's what we're doing. That's all we're looking for there. Now, all of that is in prep to actually factor the polynomials. Let's go ahead and take a look at 23. For 23, we are given 15 n cubed minus 3n squared plus 12n. All right, now I'm not going to write them all factored out. Instead, I'm going to try to do this, not really skipping a step, but just trying to do it a little bit more efficiently without writing it down. If you have to write it all out, absolutely write it all out, but I'm going to try to verbalize my thinking. Again, I'm going to start off with my variables. Okay? Variables are kind of easier for me. I'm going to see that I have n's in every single one of my terms, And the lowest number of n's that I have is this n to the first here. So I'm going to go ahead and say that is the most that I can take out of any of my terms, because it is the it's from the term that has the least number of n's. So I'm going to run out in this term here. If I take out all of their n's, that means there's no more n's to take out of this term. Therefore, I can't take any more. So I'm just going to take the 1. That's going to give me here an n to the first power, and here an n squared. All right. Then I'm going to look at signs. We haven't really talked about the signs of this term here, so we're not going to worry about signs right now, other than bringing our signs down. So if it was negative before, it's still negative. If it's positive before, it's still positive. Now we're going to look at the coefficients. I'm going to look at my smallest coefficient and prime factor it. Smallest coefficient is 3. It already is prime factored. It's 3 and 1. So can I take a 3 out of every single one of these terms? Yes, they're all divisible by 3. So I know the other part of my greatest common factor is a 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Just leave that there. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now my spacing is a little weird, so I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. 3n times 5n squared minus n plus 4. That is our factored polynomial. I double check, make sure I do not have any common factors of my terms here. If I wanted to triple check, I could just distribute this out. 3 times 5 is 15. N times n squared is n cubed. 3n times a negative n gives me a negative 3n squared. 3n times a positive 4 is a positive 12n. I compare this to this. They are the same thing, and my answer checks out. Awesome. So that's what we're doing today. Now, this is the precursor to some pretty wild stuff that we're going to be doing down the road as we learn how to not just multiply a monomial times a polynomial, but how to actually multiply polynomials together, and learning special cases and special rules and a whole lot of fun stuff. But we need to make sure we can do this correctly, so hopefully the video helped. Enjoy the rest of your evening.